What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a very important topic, which is all the reasons why you might not be improving at Fortnite. A lot of people feel like they're doing the right things to improve and they've been putting time into the game, but for some reason they don't feel like they're getting better at all. So in today's video, I'm going to be covering that, and I'll be explaining to you guys exactly what you can do to make sure that you're making progress. And if you're hitting a skill plateau currently, hopefully I can help you break out of it. Before we get into this video, if you find it helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more, and of course it's always super appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It only takes a couple seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. You guys are awesome. With all that said, and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So starting off with our first reason why you might not be improving at Fortnite, and this one is using low-level practice. Low-level practice includes things like doing a bunch of pubs, playing 1v1s against players you can easily beat, or just sitting around doing random things with no particular goal in mind. Essentially, what I mean by low-level practice is anything that's not either specific or difficult. Most of your practice should be pretty goal-oriented. You want to have a specific goal or intention in mind with everything that you do. For example, instead of just mindlessly hopping into a 1v1 with a random friend, maybe do that 1v1 with the goal of working on a particular skill. Say you want to go for a particular piece control technique, or maybe you want to focus on getting safe shots from high ground, or going for more optimal edits in your box fights. Any of these types of things are specific things you can focus on while you're practicing. And obviously that's going to be much better than the alternative of kind of just going in there, building around randomly, and kind of just spinning your wheels. And you want to spend your time doing higher level practice, aka things that are either more difficult or more focused on a particular skill rather than just random stuff. Higher level practice might include stuff like aim maps, 1v1s against good players. Note that I said good players, not random players. That also might include like ranked games, tournaments, etc. These types of things result in way more improvement simply because they require you to either play at a higher level or focus on a particular skill. Either way, they're gonna force you to adapt to something and force you to get better at the game in some way. Spending your time doing these types of practice methods should be super helpful for your improvement, so definitely make sure that you're using high level practice when you're working on your gameplay. Getting into our second reason why you might not be improving at Fortnite, and this one is not playing confidently. A lot of people find themselves dying a lot in game or losing a lot of fights simply because they get nervous, start playing defensive, and they make stupid plays. A lot of people will hop into a game or something like that, even if it's like a public match, and they'll get into a fight, they'll get a little bit of pressure on them, their opponent maybe hits them for some damage, and from that point they basically freeze up, their fight or flight gets activated, and everything in their brain just goes haywire and they screw up and they die. The biggest key here is even when you feel nervous or you feel like you're low confidence, keep in mind that your opponent most likely feels the exact same way. Chances are if you're feeling nervous in a fight, your opponent is too. And if you're putting in the practice and you're working on improving, then you have absolutely no reason to be nervous in fights. Worst case scenario, you lose the fight, you learn a lesson, and you queue back up. So really, there's no downside to losing in this game. That's something to keep in mind as well. A very simple tip I have for you here, and something that works really well actually, is to play every fight like you're confident. Try to be the aggressor, try to apply a bunch of pressure, and focus all your energy on making your opponent feel nervous rather than being nervous yourself. Putting yourself in this aggressive type of position within your fight is going to make your opponent feel way more nervous, and it does have a tendency to make you feel way less nervous. Basically, you want to channel all that nervous energy that you would have otherwise had and focus that energy on making your opponent feel nervous. This strategy is essentially the prime example of fake it till you make it, but it does work remarkably well and it can make you play way better. So overall, focus on playing aggressive in your fights, play like you're confident, and your opponent is almost certainly going to get way more nervous than you are. Getting into our third reason why you might not be improving at Fortnite though, and this one is going to be not VOD reviewing. Now some of you guys might be thinking, oh boy, it's another VOD review tip from Teckoh. I talk about VOD reviewing all the time, but it's for good reason because it's super important. Not taking the time to VOD review is another really big one that causes people to stall out in terms of their improvement. There are two different types of VOD reviews I'm going to talk about. One is a first-person VOD review. A first-person VOD review is basically where you watch back your own gameplay to see what you could have done better. And then there's a third-person VOD review where you actually watch a pro player's gameplay to see what they do and learn how you can apply their tactics into your game. So essentially, first person is yourself and third person is other people. Doing both of these forms of VOD review in conjunction with one another and on a consistent basis is one of the most important things you can do to improve as a player. I recommend turning on your replays and collecting your games in groups of 3 to 5. So maybe play about 10 different games and select 3 to 5 where you feel like you're not exactly sure why you died, or games that you just found interesting and you want to review. Take a bit of time to watch back your gameplay, especially watch back your fights, see what you do right and wrong, and figure out what you can do next time, or what skills you can practice to perform better your next time playing. And what this is going to allow you to do is really get some good insight into what you're actually doing in your games and what goes right, what goes wrong. You'd be really surprised by how much you can learn about your own gameplay from actually watching it back rather than just playing it. As well as that, in order to third-person VOD review, you simply want to take a pro's gameplay, whether it's from a YouTube video, a stream, or even from the tournament replays in-game. You can get that just by going to the Compete tab, selecting a pro's name within a tournament, and you just click on that, and you're going to see all their replays from that tournament. It's only going to allow this for replays in the current update, so just keep that in mind. And basically, you just want to watch their gameplay and see what you can learn from them and implement into your own gameplay. You can take notes on things they do mechanically, different rotations they make, or literally anything else they do. I'm serious when I tell you guys there is so much that you can learn simply by watching a pro play and just taking a bit of extra time to actually think about what they do and why they might be doing it. Overall though, when it comes to VOD reviewing, doing both first and third person VOD reviews in conjunction with one another is one of the best ways to break out of a skill plateau and start improving super quickly. So definitely make sure you're VOD reviewing on a consistent basis, especially if you find yourself struggling to improve. I really can't understate how important this is. This is super important for getting better at the game. So if you find yourself struggling to improve, start VOD reviewing. Getting into our fourth reason though as to why you might not be improving, and this one is super important and kind of ties into our last one, and this one is not working on your weaknesses. Now the fact of the matter is we all have our weaknesses in Fortnite. For some of us it's our aim, for others it's mechanics, for some of us it's game sense, or for others it's something entirely different, or perhaps even a combination of multiple areas. So I want you to think about a question right now. What are your biggest weaknesses in Fortnite? If I ask you that question and you're like, I honestly don't know, then that would show that you're definitely lacking a lot of awareness of your own skill set. And if that's the case, it's definitely worth spending a lot of time reflecting on your games and VOD reviewing to see what you can do better. Figuring out what you're good and bad at in this game is very simple. It's really just a matter of watching back your gameplay to learn what you're doing. And if you do have an answer to that question, say you actually do know what you're bad at, and you aren't actively working on that weakness on a consistent basis, then you're definitely going to be holding yourself back quite a bit. As we talked about before, reviewing your gameplay is a fantastic way to uncover your weaknesses, and you may even know some of your weaknesses already, but obviously it's going to be a whole different beast to actually work on them and fix them. That's pretty much where most people get caught up. So whether your weaknesses are something mechanical, something related to game sense, or something entirely different, you want to figure out what they actually are and you want to take steps to improve upon them. I'm sure you've heard this quote a bunch: a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if you're able to find and improve upon your weaknesses, then you should see a huge improvement in your gameplay pretty quickly. And if you do know what you're bad at in this game, then make sure you're taking extra steps within your practice to specifically target that. And if you do that, you should see a big improvement in your overall performance. And finally guys, getting into the last reason why you might not be improving at Fortnite, and this one is going to be imbalanced practice. A lot of people spend plenty of time playing the game. Some people even spend upwards of 8 hours a lot of days doing it, but the balance in their practice is actually holding them back. In general, the balance I'm talking about is the balance between creative and real games and what actual subsets of these you do. A lot of people have a tendency to play too much or too little of each of these things. Generally, what I'm going to recommend for the average player is spending about 40% of your time practicing in creative, doing things like aim maps, mechanics maps, and fighting, and about 60% in the real game. This is obviously going to be very dependent on the individual, but it should be a good general range for you guys. When it comes to your in-game practice, you're going to want to revert back to the first tip and use high-level practice. That means if you're stomping through pub lobbies, for example, then hop in some ranked or hop in a tournament. And as well as that, you want to make sure your creative practice is a fair balance between fighting maps, aim maps, mechanics maps, and anything else you might be doing. As I said before, for your regular games, you want to have a variety of things like ranked and potentially scrims and tournaments depending on whether or not you're trying to play competitive. And you're really going to want to get a good variety of practice in both creative and regular games and have a good balance between these two. If you're getting a good variety of practice that targets all the areas you need to work on, then you should be in a great spot for improvement. It's probably going to take some trial and error to figure out what really works best for you, but over time you're able to narrow down what you do and you'll end up with a pretty balanced routine that works great for you. So overall, make sure you're doing a reasonable amount of both creative and real games, and make sure that what you're doing within those areas is as effective as possible. But with all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on why you might not be improving at Fortnite and how to fix it. Overall, in this video we covered 5 things which, if you don't have them down, are going to hold you back an absolute ton. So if any of these apply to you, hopefully you're able to fix them pretty quickly, and hopefully you got a good idea as to exactly what you need to do to improve super fast in the future. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content just like this in the future. I post an absolute ton of Fortnite tips and tricks content just like this, so make sure you don't miss out. And of course guys, it's always appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. You guys are amazing. And finally guys, let me know down in the comments what videos you want to see next on the channel. I got a couple more videos planned out, but I'm always looking for ideas, so if you have anything you want to see, then definitely let me know. But with all that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.